So she sets the bag on the table and opens it, and out comes the rat, flying as if jerked by a string. She screeches like a dying cat and hurls the bag away. It slides across the table, knocking everything over. The milk, our oatmeal, my father's coffee, the whole thing catapults right into his face. Oatmeal in his mustache, milk in his bristly eyebrows, dripping down from his chin. Coffee on his clean shirt. You've never seen such a mess. And right away I start laughing like I'd lost my mind. It couldn't have been more obvious who was responsible. My father looked at me and I knew right then I was in for it. Dead meat. But just as I was preparing myself for the whipping of a lifetime, the strangest thing happened. She stared down at her shoes. "What?" Ray asked. Carmine looked at her, her eyes brimming with light. "He smiled," she said. He smiled, and then before I knew it, he was laughing. A great guffawing laugh, like boulders rumbling in the mountains. And then we all were, all of us laughing till we were crying, till it hurt. Nellie, me, my mom, and loudest of all, my dad. Carmine wiped the edge of one eye. It's funny the things you remember once they're gone. Ray felt a hot prickling in her eyes and quickly turned her head to look once more out the window. She wouldn't cry. Not here. Not ever. Carmine pressed a handkerchief into Ray's hand. Ray took it. "They never leave us. Truly," Carmine said, gently. "Not really." She put her hand on Ray's shoulder. "I won't cry," Ray thought. "I won't cry." But it was, of course, too late. Abbess Carmine returned to her seat and busied herself in one of the desk's drawers, not saying a word until Ray had finished wiping her eyes. She refused the handkerchief when Ray offered it to her. "You keep it," she said, excavating a pile of papers and slamming it on the desk. "If you hurry, you'll still be able to make it in time for dinner." She slid a pair of glasses down over her nose and began rifling through the pages. "Say 20 divine lights before bed tonight," she said without looking up. Ray stood and walked towards the door, but Carmine spoke again, her tone once again severe. "Sister Bellin has informed me that the toilets are in desperate need of cleaning. If I should hear of any more wrongdoing, I'll let her know you'd be happy to help." Ray reached for the door handle. "Oh, and Ray," Carmine said, glancing up from her work with a weary smile. "See you tomorrow." Ray stepped out into the gray stone corridor. Mitsue was sitting on a bench beside Carmine's office, waiting just as she'd known he would be. He stood as she emerged, concern muddying his features. They were the same age and the same height, but otherwise they couldn't have looked less alike. Her eyes were round and green, his loam brown and slanted gracefully towards the edges. Her hair was a fiery red, his an unremitting black. She was Anglian. He was from Tsukihaka, the island nation. Hawkers they were called. Ray could still remember the first time she'd seen him, 9 years before, standing in the doorway of her home beside her father. How peculiar he'd looked in his kimono, how queer his accent had sounded. It was odd to remember a time before she knew him. He was her brother now, after all the years together, the only family she had left. Presently he was dressed in the orphanage's gray sweater and gray slacks. He adjusted his collar as he got to his feet. "So what's it today?" he asked. "Pans? Ovens?" He lowered his voice, his face pallid. "Not toilets, please. I don't want to do them again." Despite her foul mood, Ray laughed. "No, not toilets. Not today, anyway. Prayers before bed. That's all." Mitsue relaxed. "She let you off easy, huh? Maybe she's feeling bad for you." "More like she's feeling bad for you," Ray replied. "You know, you don't have to help me. It's supposed to be my punishment." "I know, but you never would have finished if I hadn't helped you mop the entryway, or dust the undercroft, or scrub the—" Yeah, she said. "I get the picture, and I'm grateful for your help." "I'm glad to help. Still," Mitsue hesitated. "What?" Ray asked, already knowing where this was going. "Now don't take this the wrong way. Just spit it out." "Well, it wouldn't hurt you to try and behave for a bit," he continued carefully, watching her out of the corner of his eye. "I know it's been rough, but we have to make the best of it. And if you're going around picking fights—" "Picking fights?" Ray said, stopping in the middle of the hallway. "No, that isn't what I meant. It came out wrong. I'm not picking fights. I know. I'm sorry." "He was my father," Ray said. Mitsue dropped his eyes. "Yeah, I know." "How could you?" Ray asked, regretting it immediately when she saw the anguish in his eyes, in the curve of his lips. But just then, before she could muster an apology, they heard footsteps and another voice spoke. Well, what do we have here?" They turned to see Ernley striding towards them, the twins Barnes and Floret slinking along in his wake. "Trouble in paradise, is it?"